The question of faith is one of dealing with uncertainty. To have faith, you've got to overcome doubt. That's our faith, that's our belief, that God is like Jesus and cares about us. So yes, I've doubted, but my faith has always overcome my doubt.
Bishop Louis Bevel Jones III is Special Assistant in the Development Office of the Candler School of Theology at Emory University and Bishop in Residence at First United Methodist Church in Decatur, Georgia, a congregation he served as senior minister from 1967 to 1976. As a United Methodist pastor, he served many churches in the North Georgia Conference of the United Methodist Church before being elected bishop of the Western North Carolina Conference in 1984. Bishop Jones and his wife, affectionately known as Tuck, make their home in Decatur. They have 3 children and 6 grandchildren.
I would call this 80 years and counting. Reflections from 8 decades to trace God's hand. You know, we say foresight is better than hindsight. There's a sense in which hindsight is, well, it's easier, but it is also necessary because
Swami Yogi Shananda, a monk of the Ramakrishna order, is the spiritual leader of the Vedanta Center of Atlanta and author of several books on spiritual life. He was born in Tacoma, Washington in 1923 and brought up as a Protestant. Searching for more than just knowledge of God, he found his destiny in Vedanta, the underlying philosophy of what is known as Hinduism. He has served a number of centers of the order and in the 1980s was sent to Atlanta. He is well known and respected for his extensive knowledge of world religions, his involvement in the interfaith community, and his dedication to sharing one of the core principles of Vedanta, that every religion is a valid path to the one truth.
You see, one of the big superstitions that the West has been involved in, has held on to, is that there is no substance to the mind. We do not believe that. Our scriptures say that the mind is material. Mind has a subtle material existence.
On Sunday, June 18, 2006, Reverend Walter Kimbrough, one of Atlanta's most prominent and beloved ministers, preached his last sermon as pastor of the Cascade United Methodist Church. Reverend Walter Kimbrough's ministry for nearly half a century has been characterized by evangelism, pastoral care, teaching, and community service. In 1974, Reverend Walter Kimbrough became the first minister to pastor the predominantly white Cascade United Methodist Church. Under his leadership, Cascade grew from about 100 members to about 7,000 and distinguished itself as a light in the Atlanta community. Reverend Walter Kimbrough's dedication to the ministry and his commitment to the community do not end with his departure from Cascade United Methodist Church. The ministry that lives within him will never retire.
The Reverend Dr. Barbara Lewis King is the founder and spiritual leader of Hillside International Truth Center in Atlanta, Georgia, a ministry she started with 12 members in her living room. Today, Dr. Barbara, as she is affectionately called, preaches to thousands in the church and the round and is known throughout the world for spreading the New Thought message of the God within. The life and ministry of Reverend Dr. Barbara King is without parallel, demonstrating that truth truly sets one free.
Hillside is one of many so-called New Thought churches around the world, has a commitment to the teacher through whom it came. And there are many teachers on the path. But when we sing Blessed Assurance, Jesus Matters, because Hillside as a ministry came through the teachings of Jesus the Christ. And that's important that we may recognize all other teachers, but our teacher, the one who showed us the way, is Jesus, the living Christ.
I came from a very tall family. My mother's mother was 7 feet. My dad was 6'5", I'm 6'5". Mother was 5'11". My Aunt Ruth was 5'10". My children are all tall except one granddaughter who's maybe 5'8", 5'9". And I was teased so much when I was a little girl about it. There weren't many tall girls, a lot of tall girls now, but I was teased so much, and it was very painful for me. And I lived with that emotional pain for a long time. And even as an adult, even when other kids were dating, I didn't date because I towered over the boys and everybody wanted a shorter girl. I got into my adulthood, same thing happened. And so to be in the public eye with the height, the only reason I was able to do it, a teacher said to me once in high school, she said, "Barbara, remember this." She said, you're gonna always be in a group because that's your thing. She said, "But remember this, if you have something to say, people forget about your height." And that's been true. And I've lived with that as one part of me. Another part of me was in pain because I felt like I was not accepted because of my height. So through this teaching that I learned through unity and through this whole New Thought movement, I've been able to realize that God loves me, but I must love myself.
I'm not trying to prove anything. I'd like to live for what matters the rest of my life.
The Reverend Dr. Ben Campbell Johnson answers to many titles: author, teacher, pastor, entrepreneur. He founded and served as the executive director of the Institute of Church Renewal and is well known for his work in Christian evangelism. He is a recognized authority on Christian spirituality and was instrumental in developing the Christian Spirituality Formation Program at Columbia Theological Seminary, where he is Professor Emeritus. In his retirement, Dr. Johnson has started yet another journey, that of interfaith activism. Through his life and work, Reverend Dr. Ben Campbell Johnson reminds us to recognize the allness of God in each person and in each moment of our lives.
When I was 70 years old and retired a couple of years from the seminary, one day I had an idea. You have to watch ideas that come to you like this. And this idea was that in the 21st century, the major issue that Christians face is how to relate to the Muslim community. If I were a Muslim, I would say it the other way, how Muslims relate to the Christian community. There are 2.5 billion Christians in the world, and there are 1.5 billion Muslims in the world and growing rapidly. That's 4 billion people out of the 6 billion people that live on earth. And that shook me up a bit. A few days later, the thought came to me rather powerfully, saying, "And you don't know a thing about Islam."
I don't remember going to church but once before I was 9 years old. When we moved to town, when I was 9, 10, my mother made going to church something we did every Sunday. So we went to a little Methodist church that was situated down off the square in Elba, Alabama. And that's where I joined the church. That's where later on I was to hear about God. That's where, when I was 17 years old, I made a commitment of my life to Christ.